Welcome back to the Brian Clay Chronicles. We have Reverend Kenneth Whalum with us, and for those of you all, indulge me just a tad, because Reverend Whalum and I do go back many years ago. Back in, I think, in 92, right when I graduated. One of my first jobs was actually working with Reverend Kenneth Whalum at God rest her soul, Minerva Johnson, who was one of the first female African American criminal court clerk that we ever had.
That's right.
And we were discussing off camera that back in 92, obviously Dr. Harrington was just elected. Memphis seemed, it was just a very different place. And I've heard this said amongst many people that have lived and have worked and grown here in Memphis, and especially in my peer group. Something happened. It's almost like we went to bed one night and you woke up and it was a different place. Some prognosticators and political people say it was Tennessee Waltz, maybe. But as a person that's been here...
How long is this interview?
Ooh, it's 30. We're doing a special today, just so it's an hour today. But I have never ever asked a quote unquote political person this particular question, and I feel very comfortable asking you, what happened? And am I wrong and other Memphians wrong for that assessment?
Well, you mentioned Tennessee Waltz. Based on the evidence that I saw and that the whole world saw, not a single soul went down in Tennessee Waltz that didn't deserve to go down.
Wow. Okay.
And that's tied to what the answer to your question is. We've had a colossal, a huge, a magnanimous, a magnificently large amount of failure of black elected leadership.
Is that the $1 million secret that... Goodness gracious, I didn't know the Brian Clay Chronicles was going to go this way, but is that something that we have yet to face as an African American population here?
Obviously it is. You cannot govern without integrity.
Okay.
You can't push the limits. You can't change the status quo if you yourself have no integrity, Brian.
Wow.
You can't get elected to a position and then sell your soul to be able to sit in a suite at a basketball game, or if you're a black man, to be able to go out, to be able to date a white girl, to be able to, that's not progress and success. That's selling out. That's selling your power for pleasure. And what we've got to do in this community, and we may not do it, if we don't do it in this cycle, this city election, we're through. I predict.
You think we're
I predict that we're through. We're Detroit.
Wow.
If we don't get it right this time, man, if we don't elect leadership with integrity, we are finished.
Well, I have said that before. But sometimes I think, a lot of what we write as journalists and what have you, not necessarily falls in deaf ears, but there are not a lot of us. There's Wendy that does a fabulous job, Wendy Thomas. There's obviously the Tri-State Defender, and I'm not saying that because we're on TSD TV, but there's not a lot, and that's why I feel a responsibility as a pastor, and this goes to a more, I guess, complex question. Do you feel a certain responsibility? Do you feel a certain pastoral tug to make yourself available for the mayoral office because in some ecumenical way you see what may be the future of our great city?
Well, there's no question, and it's not just me as a pastor, it is every person of faith, particularly every Christian, since that's my lane.
Amen. Mm-hmm.
If you are a child of God, if you are, particularly in my position, if you are a pastor, that means you also have a prophetic mantle, which means you cannot rest where there is social injustice. And that's what we have here, Brian. You're not supposed to have the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. That's an imbalance. That's social injustice. Well, why not have a person who's independent, somebody who can't be bought, somebody who ain't scared, somebody who speaks with articulate authority?
Of course.
That's the kind of person you need in a position of leadership, because that person cannot be bought.
Why doesn't Wharton have that? And let me say this, because I feel I do need to be somewhat mindful of the fact that he is the mayor, and I do respect that. And truth be told, I interned for Mayor Wharton as well when I was a freshman in college. So I respect the man, and I think he has done some great work in Memphis, per se. But as mayor, I think there's a tremendous amount.
Please let me interrupt
yes, sir.
you. Here,
please.
I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
That's good. And let me say this. You have to look at results, right?
Right.
Mayor Wharton has presided, and I'm not saying he does not have integrity. I'm saying let's look at the record. He has presided over a city that has closed, 15 schools in the inner city?
Yes, he has.
He led the campaign to surrender the charter. He was one of the leaders to surrender the charter, Brian.
True.
He has presided over $60 million in property tax money walking out the front door of Memphis, Tennessee without anything in return for the masses of citizens. That is not good leadership, Brian. That's a failure of leadership, and it is fair to look at that record. It is fair to articulate that record and that observation. You ask me, why don't more people believe it? Why don't more people act on it? Well, there's a sickness in our community. There is a sickness, and it's called addiction to envy and jealousy.
Wow.
In this community, we are addicted to envy and jealousy. It's called E&J. There's a branding, by the way, a real branding called E&J. And we are addicted to it. And what that means is, when we get in a position of leadership, if anybody else comes up that we perceive might be a threat to our little piece of the pie, we begin to attack that individual. One of the things that I did when we hired you, I believed that if we helped you, we would help future generations. I believed that if I set an example for you, if you came to work every day and saw a strong, intelligent black man who had a work ethic,
right,
and who was going to hold you accountable.
Yes, you did.
And you know, I believed that if I helped you, it was going to raise somebody else that was going to help somebody else. We have failed in that regard, Brian.
Right.
We owe it to future generations, man, to change that which is wrong. And if we don't do it, then we have failed.
Do you think, with that being said, you look at neighborhoods like Hyde Park, Hollywood, Douglas, your community, that you're very proud. Orange Mountain.
2 round, 3 down.
2 round, 3 down.
Yeah.
And I want to say hello to all my Melrose. No, that's just Orange Mountain. That's Orange Mountain as long as I've known it. Which is one of the great communities in this country.
Historic, absolutely.
Do you think that's why it's very visible that these communities are falling apart?
It's obvious. Look, man, look. If the pyramid, if Bass Pro can get $300 million,
why can't?
If Hotel Chiska, the people behind, the developers behind, can get millions of dollars in city money, if Overton Square can get $16 million in public money for the parking garage, and the list goes on and on and on, why can't black business owners get any kind of tax break from the city?
Well, that's been proven with the situation out in Whitehaven. I think with that group that was trying to get $1 million. It was little or nothing compared to what Carl Schledwitz and some others.
So here's what the question is. We got black folk in charge of everything.
Right. Black
people in the black mayor, black majority council, black county commissioners, black folk everywhere. Well, why is it that the black community has to beg what they need? When you got people that look just like you and your children in the positions that make the decisions? Why, Brian, why are we celebrating free movie tickets to go see Selma when $60 million of our tax money is walking out the door to corporations that don't need it?
It is a slap in the face.
We having press conferences to say, bring your children, and Massa will let you go see Selma. I'm sorry, man. It's insulting.
Right. It is very insulting. However, one of the things that I have championed through this entire, going into this mayoral process, that it's going to be somebody with enthusiasm, excitement, and ideas that comes along that the people inevitably will vote for. Jim Strickland has announced, city councilman has announced that he ran, and actually this was the impetus of that post the other day because it was one of the most bizarre mayoral announcements that I have heard in the 45 years I've been on earth, where he just was negative. If we don't do this, if you don't elect me, all of the people, he almost said, and I say this cautiously, he almost said that all the white people will move out of Memphis if you all don't vote for me. Race is always an issue in elections, period. However, do you think, even with going back to what you said about not having the need for a People's Commission, do you think that we have elevated ourselves in the African American community? And I think you've already answered that question, but just for the record, do you think we've elevated ourselves from a voting perspective, where we're beyond race and we can vote for the best candidate, or is Strickland's assertion somewhat true and when he made the announcement that he wanted to run?
Well, the answer to that question is we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see if the black voting populace is sophisticated enough to vote their own interests. But what we got to see, man, is will black folk vote, period. Brian, we surrendered an entire school system, man.
And we
had a $1.2 billion asset called Memphis City Schools.
Yes, we did.
And you know what we did? We gave it away with a 17% voter turnout.
Wow.
So,
and you said that from Jump Street.
That's ridiculous, man. But I bet you the people that voted, if they could vote again,
oh God, they
would change their vote.
Because they saw it happen.
But I'm not mad at them. What's got to happen is the people who complain all the doggone time are going to have to be motivated to go vote. And we can change it. We can take it back just like that.
You think so?
Oh man. If black folk vote,
it'll be a
lot of folk going to wake up October 9th with a big headache.
Wow. A
lot of folk gonna wake up with a big headache.
Let me ask you a quick question, because Reverend, I swear I could talk to you all day. You're one of, I know I should not assert my personal opinions, but you know I just love you as a human being. 2 schools closed, or about to close. Southside Middle, Southside High, and to all the Scrapper alumni, we say hello to you. And I think Riverview, Kansas, maybe the other school that's on the block.
Well, there ain't many more closed.
It ain't that many more. Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Brian. We have a school board that's supposed to be protecting the interests of all the children.
Right.
And if the school board sit up and let them close,
and you can do.
What can we do?
Right.
They wouldn't close. Man, I would be raising so much hell, as I am known to do when I'm on an elected body. But why is it that we give up? We just bend over and say, whatever. Yeah. Yassa Massa, you need them schools? Yassa Massa, we'll close them. You need us to build you some new school? Yassa Massa, we'll build whatever you need.
Wow.
What about our children, man?
Yeah. But close White Station. I see
well, you know, who knows?
Reverend, you got to come back. You'll come back. Matter of fact, when you...
Let me make this promise.
Okay, make this promise.
When I decide what I'm going to do with regard to the city mayor's office, I will announce it right here on the Brian Clay Chronicle.
You heard that, Memphis. You heard that on the Brian Clay Chronicle. You'll do that?
Yes, sir. Now, let me say this. I know you're out of time.
No, you're
There is one person, if he runs, I will not run against him. Because he and I have demonstrated an interest in the same things. And we would draw from the same base. The question is, which one of us could win against AC? That's the question.
That's the million.
But when I decide that, I'll announce it right here.
Reverend, love you, man.
I love you.
Good Morehouse, man. We love Morehouse guys, man.
2 round, 3 down.
2 round, 3 down. Orange Mound. We have Noel Hutchison, the Reverend Noel Hutchison, up with Brett Thompson right after this. Bye-bye.
L3 Media is the Mid-South's premier videography and photography company, specializing in capturing all of life's greatest moments. Whenever you need talented and professional service for your events or business, L3 Media is the company for you. You can contact us at all of our social media sites. You can like us on Facebook, check out our website, follow us on Twitter, or always feel free to email us. We are L3 Media. Give us a call today.